I'm going to show you what was entailed to change out the thermostat on my 2000 Chevy Impala with the 3.4 V6 motor. And right underneath the driver's side front corner there, under the radiator, there's a petcock. And I was able to turn that with the aid of a screwdriver. It was almost finger loose, but I needed a little help. So I took a screwdriver and I loosened it and I drained out enough fluid so that I could do the job. And I'm going to show you what was entailed in doing the job now. Right there you see the throttle body. I had to disassemble the air cleaner duct, which you see over here, right there. I had to take the bracket off the cruise control throttle assembly there. There was 3 easy bolts to take off. And down here, I didn't really have to disassemble much more, but I'll show you the difficult part here. Right down there, you see where the thermostat came off, and you see the lower bolt still has, the lower bolt is still in place because the thermostat housing is slotted. So the only bolt that needs to come out all the way is the top bolt, which is located there. The camera's not picking it up too well, but I think you can see, there it is right there. That's all I really had to disassemble to do the job. Now the tool that I needed for the lower bolt is this thing right here. And what that is, I just happen to have it because I've got a 1977 GMC and it's got the old school distributor, so if you want to check your timing, you need this kind of a tool. Now this is actually a 1/2 inch, but it converts to a 13 millimeter because of course this 2000 Chevy is metric. And I'll show you what I got here. What I had was a stuck open thermostat. My car was not heating up, was not warming up properly, and my fuel economy went through the floor. So the only other tools I really needed were typical standard sockets and nut drivers, stuff like that. But I'm going to show you what these thermostats look like. Okay, there you have the old thermostat. And you see right here, there's a gap there. It's stuck open. It's a bad thermostat. So it's releasing water from the engine block too soon, preventing a proper warm-up, and then the car stays in open loop. And your fuel economy really suffers. Mine was suffering in town driving to the tune of 30%. You can see this one's completely sealed like it's supposed to be. Now I'm going to show you where you have to put this wrench because it's a very foreboding job. You know, most novice mechanics would be afraid to take this job, but it's really not too bad. I'm going to show you how I fit that tool down there. Now to get to the top bolt, I'll show you the tool I used was this. And what that is, that's a universal swiveling. I needed that to get the right angle, but with it, it was really easy. It was very tight, and I did say my prayer before I really cinched down on that thing, and it worked. Now I'm going to show you. I want to show you the other wrench and how I got that lower bolt off. Okay. Watch, see the wrench? I'm slipping it right underneath here. Got a low spot where the transaxle is. And I'm slipping it under here. And right now, it's a little tricky to be holding the camera and doing this, but I don't think the camera is picking this up. But right now, right there, I got the wrench on the bolt, and this particular, I think it's a distributor wrench. It's a 1/2 inch, but really a 13 millimeter would probably fit better. But I'm going to show you this thing. See that? This comes apart. It's just like that. It worked quite well. And there's one other thing I want to point out. When I took the thermostat housing off, it's in there like this. In order to fit it past the throttle body, I just had to move this crap out of the way and twist the throttle, and I was able to clear it right here. So, and remember, that bottom bolt doesn't need to come all the way out. It's better if it doesn't, because you see the housing. So it goes back in like this, and you don't need to take it all the way out. So it's really not that bad a job, you know. And don't get too frustrated. Just take a breath when you get when it gets a little hard, because they really put stuff in here tightly. And you know, the one thing, I think these engineers are brilliant, but the one thing they should have to do is have to work on the things they're building. So anyhow, best to everybody. It's not that scary, but drain your fluid first and have a good. One last note here. You see the mating surface for the new thermostat down there is got old gasket material around it, and that's all going to have to be cleaned out before I put the new one in. And one other thing, the 2 bolts that hold the housing down, they were very tight, and along with praying, I whacked them with I used a long extension to reach down there, and a hammer, and I whacked the head of them before I tried to loosen them. And also I had soaked them with WD-40 too, so you know, that might give you a little trouble getting those things off, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting, thank God. Well, got the job done. When you do, a couple final tips. That bottom bolt that holds the thermostat housing on, get that thing threaded out almost all the way. And also, when you're trying to stick the housing back in, I would take the bleeder screw off. That's this screw right there. That's one of the bleeder screws, and you're gonna have to bleed the system when you're done too. And there's the other bleeder screw. I've got both these loose because this is the first time I've started it up, and I'm checking for leaks around where I did the work. And yeah, I would have that bolt, the lower thermostat bolt, almost all the way off before you try to mount the, it's very cumbersome. It's a very frustrating job. And if you can afford it, I'd just take it to a mechanic, you know, because it's no walk in the park, I guarantee. It's not a lot of fun. And I want to show you some of the stuff I used. Again, was, you know, you're going to need a drain pan, you know. First step right there, drain your coolant so you can reuse it or recycle it. And here's some of the tools I used. There's the old thermostat, and it was stuck open. And you see these tools, a couple pairs of pliers, adjustable, regular. Got a nice long straight screwdriver slot, nut drivers, assorted. You see this tool right here? Okay, that's invaluable. You need that knuckle, that universal pivoting attachment for your ratchet. And take your watch off, because you're gonna damage it, or at least get it filthy. And yeah, this is about all the stuff I used. There's a magnetic pickup tool there, which came in handy at least once that I remember. And this silicone grease, this stuff was good around the air filter duct, and it helped slide everything in place a little bit better. So there you go. That's about what you're going to need. Oh yeah, one last thing. A flashlight is very important too, preferably with fresh batteries. Okay. One final note. It doesn't hurt to have the book, but for this engine, they didn't show any diagrams. This 3.4. This is the what brand? Haynes brand. So the job is done, and it doesn't look like there's any leaks. And if you listen carefully, you can hear it purring like a kitten. This engine has almost 200,000 miles on it, just a few hundred miles short of it. And car runs like brand new. But yeah, good luck with your own job. And oh, one other thing, you know, that bleeding, the book is good for telling you the process for that, but I want you to look at my temperature gauge. This is where it's supposed to be. This is for your optimum gas mileage. About right in the middle, you know, somewhere around 200. And it was running really cold before, and the thermostat was stuck open. So anyhow, problem solved. And one thing I would do is road test it. This thing sounded, when I first started it up after I added the coolant back in, it sounded like heck for a while, because I think the water pump was dry, and the heater wouldn't work. All it was blowing out was cold air, and it's kind of scary at first. So what you got to do is get it on the road, and within about a mile, everything started kicking in. The heater started working good. The temperature had actually gotten kind of high at that point. I was getting kind of concerned, and the heater still wasn't even working. So the system needed to be bled further, and the fluid just had to get circulating, something like that, because I definitely needed to get it on the road to have things working right. Okay, well, you have fun changing out the thermostat in your 3.4 V6 Chevy motor, huh?